All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your host Gaius and Jackson. Our fifth anniversary episode of the year. Still keeping track because I want to keep score to see if we beat our previous score, which I haven't found out yet. But I'm
Oh yes,
pretty
we gotta
sure
go.
that
That'll
we,
be a quick
yeah,
answer for sure.
quick
And the
answer.
first,
Yeah,
this is our first of March or second of March.
our first anniversary episode of March. Yeah, of March. Yeah,
Yeah, and we got a
so it's
stacked
going to
month
be a
coming
busy
up.
March. It'll be a busy
Yeah.
March for us, but we are beginning it with one of the class of 1999 films, Cruel Intentions, and our guest on this episode. If anyone that's listened, whenever JC Merc with the Movies has been on an anniversary episode, he has usually bookmarked his spot like months in advance. Like he asked me about Cruel Intentions last year, and asked if he could,
This guy's on the ball.
and asked if he could. And asked if he could be on it. So everyone's all familiar with you already, but say hi, JC Merc, to all the listeners out there.
Oh, just happy to be here. This is gonna be a fun one.
Welcome back, man.
Yeah, welcome
Always
back.
happy to have you.
Yeah, I think it is funny that every anniversary episode that you have been on has been like he'll ask months in advance, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to do that one, and like,
Hey,
well, put me down.
I know a lot of people like being on these days. I'm like, I gotta try to pencil in. Like, I don't want to miss on the ones that I really want to be on it because I actually like the week before.
Yeah. Like I was going to ask Mark because Mark, this seems like a pretty perfect episode for Mark to be on.
This is definitely a Mark.
I'm sure he's doing it. Yeah,
he's doing it. So
Okay.
that's why he chose not to. But he is going to join us for 10 Things I Hate About You, which is another 1999
I feel that's definitely a Mark
teen movie. Yeah, that was released a few weeks after this one. All right, Cruel Intentions is based on a novel called Jackson. What is the novel called?
So the original novel, it's adapted from. You say it came out or was published in 1782, right? And it's a French novel.
Yes.
The title of the other film adaptation is it's a direct translation, Dangerous Liaisons, but the novel is pronounced Liaison Dangereuse. It's probably, for any actual French speakers listening, that's a butchered pronunciation, but as a partial French speaker, that's the best I got.
Yeah, it is a modern retelling of that. It was previously adapted in 1988 as Dangerous Liaisons. There's also another adaptation called Valmont as well. And this modern take, written and directed by Roger Kumble, it stars Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, Reese Witherspoon, and Selma Blair. Also, Sean Patrick Thomas, Christine Baranski. There are a lot of people in the movie.
Joshua Jackson's in there.
Joshua Jackson pops up.
I was surprised to see her. Nurse Ratched herself. This cast actually goes hard.
Yeah, Eric Mabius is also in this too. A lot of random people popping up in it.
Where would I know Eric Mabius from? Because I know he plays Greg.
Evil movies.
He's in Resident Evil.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think of what else he might have been in.
Like Ugly Betty, and he was in one.
Yeah, he was on Ugly Betty.
He was in one of the Crow sequels.
Oh God, I didn't even know the Crow had sequels. That's tough.
Yeah, it's like 3 crappy ones on a TV show.
Yeesh.
But it's pretty bad. In this modern retelling, it's set in New York City among rich high schoolers. Roger Kumble initially wanted to make this a smaller budgeted independent film, but Columbia Pictures, wanting to capitalize on the teen movie boom, gave him a $10.5 million budget. And the movie proved to be financially successful, grossing $76 million worldwide, despite mixed critical reviews. And it has gone on to become a cult classic that has spawned 2 straight-to-video sequels, one of which began as a pilot for Fox. And then they attempted to make another TV show on NBC. And I guess they're doing a TV show on Amazon Prime that is actually a full-on go. It was ordered straight to series.
Okay.
And it also spawned a musical that was also pretty popular.
Musical to this? Wow, I did not know that. I gotta say,
this week.
The success of this movie just proves the notion that sex sells. I never would have guessed this movie was that. I know it was popular in a cult classic and all that, but damn, that's quite impressive on a $10 million budget. It grossed that much.
Yeah. And you know, we're gonna get everyone's initial reactions to it, but one of my friends sent me a message and I thought it was interesting. He felt out of all the teen movies from this period, because you know how like the ones that we got in the late 90s, they are clearly inspired by the John Hughes movies of like the 80s, and they felt like this one, maybe 10 Things I Hate About You, but mostly this one is the only one from this era that has continued to inspire other things after this whole kind of like 1999 era of teen films. Like you can see its influence in Gossip Girl. There's some of it in Pretty Little Liars. There is Emerald Fennell said that she was inspired by it for Saltburn. There's a lot of influence that Cruel Intentions has had since it's come out, and it probably is one of the only ones from the late 90s that has continued to influence other projects when we kind of speak on that in a bit. But since this was your first time watch, Jackson, we have to get your Cliff Notes version of what you thought of it.
Absolutely. I knew this was coming. Happy to report that I did enjoy this movie for the most part. I mean, it wasn't without its flaws, but I did actually have quite a good time. This plot is fucking insane. Like, I did not know what I was walking into. I didn't really know anything about Cruel Intentions even before. I didn't do any homework. I like sometimes just I like to use these anniversary episodes, the ones that I know we're covering that I haven't seen before, as like to kind of go in not knowing anything blindly. Those watches are always fun. So yeah, I mean, I gotta say, the analogy I'll use is like, if this movie was like a burger or a sandwich, I like the meat in the middle. As far as like the buns in the beginning and end, that's kind of where the movie fell flat for me. I have in my notes here that like I didn't think I was going to like this movie until Sebastian and Catherine have their first conversation, like when they first meet.
Or
not meet, but like when we first see them interact. And I was
who they really are, basically.
Then holy smokes, I was like, hey, I buckled up at that point. Like I was in for a ride. And then for the most part, it maintained that rhythm throughout, and I just could not believe like what I was watching. It was very much more elevated than the other like late 90s teen movies that we've covered before and that were popular at the time. Those ones I'm not too huge on, but this was definitely in a league of its own, I'd say. And I do got to say, in case I don't get a chance later to point it out, listeners might remember a few weeks ago when we covered our the anniversary for the remake of Friday the 13th, I said I awarded that movie the horniest screenplay of all time. I that's debunked. It's been dethroned. That goes to Cruel Intentions, I gotta say. Horniest screenplay ever, but it was great.
It is a pretty horny screenplay.
It is very.
Yeah. JC, when was the first time you saw Cruel Intentions?
I'll say it was probably either late 99 or early 2000. Because I always mention a lot of podcasts. Like I have two older brothers and one of my older sisters. Like because of them, I was watching a lot of movies. Because I was 7 when this came out. There was no reason I should be watching this movie.
You were how old? You were 7?
Yeah, I was 7.
Oh boy.
I was turning 7 in like 2 weeks. So my birthday.
Okay.
But there was no reason I needed to be watching this movie. But like I mentioned, like my parents, they're Spanish speakers. They don't speak English, so they usually had no idea what the hell was going on. Unless they said fuck, because they like you don't got to speak English to know that word. But like besides that, like they really didn't know exactly what me and my siblings were. I mean, they were old enough to watch these movies, but they didn't know what I was watching with them. So I got the gist of a lot of the stuff. Like obviously, I know it was like when two people were kissing. I know they were into each other. I knew that much back then, but it was a movie I wasn't supposed to be watching at 7 years old, but I always enjoyed it. And as I've gotten older, obviously I love it because I just I love film, and it's a trashy good time. It's like you said, there's a lot of flaws, but even the flaws make it fun.
Totally.
So it's like it's one of those, like I won't say it's a guilty pleasure because I do think there's a lot of good things, and I don't think it's a complete disaster to call it a guilty pleasure, but it's just a fun movie. Is one I've been a fan of. I guess the whole 25 years of his assistance, and
nice.
And we'll get more into this stuff, but like just like the fact that when Not Another Teen movie came out 2 years later, I got the jokes that were from this movie in that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm inspired to watch that.
Not Another Teen movie?
Yeah. That'd be a great parody. No, I've never seen it. That'd be a great parody watch.
This is like the most obscure thing, but because you've seen The Breakfast Club and all those, like John Hughes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll catch most of the stuff, but like this probably would have been the most obscure thing. The ones that have never been kissed. I don't know if G's gonna make you watch that for an anniversary. If you watch that, you'll get one of the jokes in Not Another Teen movies from that movie.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll be excited to see what I pick up on it.
Yeah, this was interesting because there were a ton of retrospectives on this movie. There were a lot when it turned 20, and there were a lot for it turning 25. And it was funny that you called it a guilty pleasure. Some people proudly called it one. They don't think it's a bad movie, but they said that they wish there were movies like this that just embraced its trashiness the way that it does.
I feel
because like they don't think any movie made for this demographic doesn't embrace its trashiness anymore, and this one full on does. I guess Wild Things did too, but it's kind of made a little differently.
Great comparison, actually. Those movies do feel like they're cut from the same cloth.
They
at least
feel like
two R-rated teen movies, and they kind of went there. So this came out. I think this came out when I was like 14-ish, 15.
Were you seeing it at that time?
Yeah, so I saw. So this was at a point where we were, how the other anniversaries we covered where we're rated R, where we're like, oh, we got to get someone to buy our ticket because we're too young. Right. At this point, we were assertive enough to be like, we're just gonna go and get our tickets, and just
no one's gonna call you out. Yeah.
And no one called us out for this one, so we were very excited to go.
What is the age limit for an R rating? Sorry to cut you
17,
off. 7. Okay.
Yeah. So you have to understand, when this movie came out, I was a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan.
Oh boy.
So Sarah Michelle Gellar, I had a huge crush on Sarah Michelle Gellar back then.
I do too after watching this.
And this is Sarah Michelle Gellar at the height of her power. So this comes out during the 3rd season of Buffy, which is arguably the best, either season 2 or 3. So it was just a big deal for us to want to go see it. And then her and Ryan Phillippe have been in I Know You Did Last Summer together. So there was that teen movie connection. And then also, and I wrote about this for Movie Web, it also felt so different from the other teen movies that we were going to see. It was definitely felt like it was a world that we did not live in, did not understand. It was very much a fantasy. It wasn't we did not go to high school like this. We did not engage with high school people like this. Even watching it now, I had to remember. Fantasy. Yeah, even watching it now, I had to remember they're high school students in this. They're not in their 20s. They are teenagers, and that was the interesting about watching it back then was it was so this is not a world I understand. I don't even know if this is a real thing that happens. Is this how people act in New York? What is going on? But
fantasy,
intriguing nonetheless.
So right,
for sure.
Yeah.
So while watching, I had discovered because I unfortunately had to split this watch up in across over the night. So I watched the first half last night and then finished it today. And in and amongst those separate viewings, I was doing my research, and it was in the middle of the movie when I discovered this was an adaptation. I had no idea about its connection to Dangerous Liaisons. Kind of forget where I was going. I lost track of myself.
Oh, you're talking about the whole fantasy.
Yes, the fan. Yeah. So I'm kind of now knowing it's an adaptation, I think a little bit less so, but the first half of this movie, I was thinking this is such a pornographic fantasy from whoever wrote this, the whole step sibling, clause to hook up, if the wager was complete. I'm this is written out of a total porn movie. So the reason you say fantasy, that's exactly what I was thinking while I was watching this. So a little bit less so that it's an actual adaptation and it's semi faithful to the original novel, but that is very much how this comes across. You're so right. None of this seems grounded in reality, but I thought that lent me to have a little bit more fun with it. Also, I think also what lends to me enjoying it a little bit more is, although because I've griped about, I don't really dig when movies featuring high school students kind of make them act so much more mature. So this one, the fact that it's not set at school at any point, it's over the summer break, it doesn't really feel they could be young adults. And anyway, that really did a lot for me in my enjoyment of this movie.
Yeah, it's when they mention school that you're oh yeah, they're in school.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're but they come off as way. And what I was impressed with, because I mean, of course, I think the last time I watched it was when it turned 20, so it's been 5 years. And
this was a yearly.
No, you would think it used to be, man. Back in the day, it used to be. I used to watch this movie out.
We wasn't watching this every other year.
I used to watch this movie a lot back in the day. But what I admire about it still is that it feels like they're not, because they were young. I mean, other than Selma Blair, I think Selma Blair was 28 when she made the movie.
She's older than the two leads, which is crazy.
The two leads. She was, and to her credit, she comes off like her that age. I mean, she might not look it completely, but the way she plays it, she does. But I was just impressed that they don't feel like they're playing dress up. They feel genuinely kind of embedded in these characters, and it doesn't feel like they're putting on a show.
Totally
Where like,
agree.
they're trying to be naughty, they're trying to be more adult than what they are. Like you can tell that they were 100% invested in, doing something a little different from what they normally do. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar, playing Buffy, this is not her normal thing at all. Even though she started on the soap opera where she played a not nice character, but like she was known for playing the hero, and this is a huge departure for her, and so it was great to kind of see these people, playing nasty and and enjoying it and having fun with it. And, in the case of Reese Witherspoon, what I thought was interesting too about this is at the time this came out, Sarah Michelle Gellar was the bigger draw because she gets top billing over Reese Witherspoon, and because Reese Witherspoon wasn't like huge yet, she was certainly on her way. And I do love the story about how they got her to be in it because she was dating Ryan Phillippe at the time, and they couldn't find the girl. They wanted Katie Holmes for the part, and he didn't think Katie Holmes would be right for the role at all. And basically, Ryan Phillippe was like, "All right, we're gonna take her out with everyone and get her drunk, and like maybe she'll say yes." And she was kind of well beyond her years back then. Like she didn't think the character was strong enough on paper. So I guess he said that they basically sat down together and rewrote that part together to make a net more of a presence and not so much like a naive, like where she didn't feel as strong, I guess, when in the original script. It was easy to see how he would like take advantage of her. So I just like it's kind of cool how it just all came together, like a nice little like teen movie package, but much different from what we had back then for sure.
So is this pre Reese Witherspoon like breakout, or was she breaking out right around this time? Did this movie help her?
She had Fear in Pleasantville, but I think
Pleasantville, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
I think Election comes out like a few months after this,
like 2 months later. So it was like 99.
2 months later.
After like, I mean, G would know this, but I feel like 99 was when, because like 2000 she had American Psycho and she had the cameo Little Nicky. Then 2001 was Legally Blonde,
and then from there, it's
This Election. I mean, as a viewer, I'll say 99 was a crucial year for her because she got the trashy pop culture phenomenon, and then she had the Oscar, the awards movie with Election, so she had the best of both worlds.
Is Election Alexander Payne?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was
nice.
That's a great one to cover, by the way. It's a good movie. It's really good. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I would love to catch that.
And you know what the crazy shit, G? I for the last like 20-something years, I always saw that Ryan and Reese met in this movie. I didn't know they were already dating.
Yeah, a lot of people thought they met here. I guess this script had been flying around so long that they actually Reese Witherspoon and him were dating. Had just started dating when they were doing I Know You Did Last Summer, and that's how long that script was floating around. And it had gone by her before, and she was like, "No, I don't want to do it." And then finally, these movies started to hit, and they're like, "Okay, we really want to make this." And they couldn't find the girl, and that's why they were like, "Well, ask your girlfriend." And it didn't seem like something that she would really want to do, because even then, even though she did movies like Fear, it was clear that she was going to be like a critical darling at some point. Like she was a lot better than like her counterparts, like Reese Witherspoon was. So I think that's why there was.
Holy.
Yeah, I think there was why there was some reluctance for her to do it.
She really had because she had been on this movie called Man in the Moon, which was like a breakout role in 91. Like I said, Fear,
like
Freeway.
Yeah,
like she was. She just hadn't gotten that like really big break. Like she had been good in a lot of movies that didn't break like through with the box office. So that was like that, back then that used to be a thing that held you back if you weren't in a teen TV show. Like if your movies didn't weren't a surprise hit, like 99, perfect example, American Pie. Before that movie, nobody knew who Jason Biggs and Sean William Scott were, but that movie became huge and then overnight sensations.
Yep. I wanted to ask you because you said that it kind of didn't hit for you, Jackson, until Catherine and him have their kind of first interaction, until you see kind of like who they actually are. But what did you think of the opening and like the therapist's office where he's like, because I thought that set the tone too of like what the movie was going to be.
It was a good introduction to his character.
Is about.
I'm cool with like the opening conversation, like the intro where he is like, I don't know if he's like actively like actually trying to seduce the therapist, but once he reveals that, or it's revealed rather, that he had slept with the therapist's daughter and kind of exposed her, it was like, hey, that's, you know, slick, like this is who we're dealing with. But then like there's a little subtle see at the end of that scene, he kind of like runs into that random girl and then like just says like, oh, I'm taking you out to lunch, and they kind of walk off hand in hand. I was like, okay, that's a little bit 90s cheese for me. And I was like, if movies at that point, I was like to myself, I was like, if this is like how the movie's gonna go, then I'm like, I'm not that on board for that. But luckily, very soon after he gets home, Catherine is having that conversation with, is it Cecile's mother?
Cecile's mom, yeah.
And then once she leaves a room and they're kind of alone and like actually speaking genuinely with each other, then the movie kind of like the curtain was pulled, and I was like, okay, this is really where the movie's really, you know, taking stride. And then I was super on board after that. The whole premise of like the main plot, the whole bet and the wager, that is like unlike anything I'd ever really seen in a movie, like so blatantly laid out, and for like a dynamic of the main characters being step siblings too, was just like, you couldn't help but it's like, I think it's funny you use the word trashy, because like the movie didn't feel trashy, like the concept did, but like I felt like I was like driving by a car crash, you know, the phenomenon where you can't look away. It was kind of like that, yet I was enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, because bear in mind, I mean, it's probably the same for JC. Like when I first saw this when it came out, I didn't really know anything. I mean, other than reading that it was adapted from Dangerous Liaisons, like I had never seen it when I was that young. So this kind of like situation between these characters felt very that was like very new. And I do remember being in the theater with my friends once they started talking to each other, that we were genuinely like shocked by the conversation and how frank it was, and how like, you know, straightforward it was. And then I remember we went with some girls that were like skeeved out by the fact that they were like related, but they're stepbrother and stepsister. They're not like related by like blood. So like it's still, I guess it's still weird though. It's still
but it's like people gotta understand, like they're technically not blood. It's weird because their parents are married, but it's not like if they were, even if they were at least half siblings, it would have been nastier. But this is because remember, if their parents split up, like it's all game.
Then there's no relation. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then when she was mentioning that, it was like the line. It was when she says like, "Oh, if you win the bet, you have what you've always wanted." It's like that's such a great line, and the way she just delivers it, like she doesn't even need to say the full thing, and you already know what she's all about.
Yeah, and then you're like, how long has that's been going on? Like, because like, when you like really think about how old they might be, and like when they kind of like, got linked up, I'm like, God, how long is this? They've been doing this since they were freshmen. Like, huh?
Do they ever say how long the parents have been there?
No, they don't.
It's ever mentioned. No.
Okay, I'm like maybe I missed something. Maybe G caught it.
And like I'm assuming that they're going into like their senior year, right? And then like Cecile is like a sophomore, junior. I don't know. She's young. She's way younger than the rest of them.
Right.
But yeah, I was like, when I was watching today, when she said, "I'll give you something to be thinking about ever since our parents got married," I was like, "But when did they get married?" I was like, "It's been going on since they were like."
These two, they probably were thinking about that shit at 9 years old.
Yeah, I was like, since they were like adolescents, I was like, Jesus, and that is what makes it kind of tawdry, kind of dirty. But the fact that it kind of embraces that and doesn't shy away from it, it gets mentioned several times to like just remind you about what this relationship is. I don't know. I can respect it for like going there and not compromising it. So, yeah, because a lot of movies didn't do that back then.
Yeah, that movie is like so problematic today. Like you said, like you mentioned how even back then it was like a whole thing. That was just because just like how people are already going crazy about the trailer for The Idea of You, because Anne Hathaway is like 20 years older. Kid,
yeah.
Like, come on, like I said, quote unquote incest story nowadays. Like they would be trashing all over Twitter.
I don't know how much it would fly these days. I think it could be made. I just don't think it would find the success that this movie clearly did when it came out.
No, I don't know if you could blatantly make them teenagers in like a mainstream movie like this and sell it to teenagers, because this was not sold to. I mean, from the trailers I remember back in the day, and I watched some of the TV spots to like see like for this to see what it was being pushed as. It was being sold to us, the teenagers. I mean, I mean, I guess if you were reading Entertainment Weekly as an adult, you're like, oh, this is an adaptation of Dangerous Liaisons. I'll check it out. But like, I can't see like anyone older being like, oh, let's go see it. It was these commercials were airing during all these shows, like during Buffy. Like, oh, it was very much sold to an audience that wasn't quite old enough to really go see it. So
that's quite interesting point actually that you mentioned that.
So, like, yeah, I don't know if they would blatantly make a movie like this that's sold to teenagers, young adults.
Well, I think of like Euphoria as an example. Like, I know like that doesn't have a step sibling dynamic, but it's also it's marketed to young people, featuring young characters, and is like filled and riddled with sex. So I feel like this isn't that much of too far. I think there's at least a precedent, a contemporary precedent that you could make something like Cruel Intentions nowadays, and it would be popular if it says, sexy, I guess, if you will, dressed up as Euphoria is, and even this movie is. But definitely not mass marketed to like the general audience. I agree. Like, it would be targeted.
Yeah, and then HBO be trying to like. I'm glad you're off Euphoria because they used to say like, we're not aiming this at kids. It airs at like 10 p.m. What are you talking about? They should be asleep. And then they started releasing figures for it was their like youngest skewing show, and they're like, oh well, shit. I guess it is being aimed at teenagers. But yeah,
they would know that. That's full. I don't.
They know exactly what they were doing. What did you think of Sarah Michelle Gellar as Catherine? I mean, because you don't really have like a ton of exposure to her the way we do.
Yeah, what would be your exposure to her? Unless, because I know you haven't seen Buffy.
I've not seen, but like I would have seen like scenes. Like I know her from Buffy. I know what
he's like Scooby. He's like Scooby Doo.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like 5 when it came out. That was a big movie for his generation.
Which one?
Scooby Doo.
Scooby Doo was really big.
But even then, I haven't seen that since.
Oh, I guess The Grudge. Have you seen The Grudge?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay, yeah, she's in that too.
Or if I did, I was really, I don't have any recollection of it. But
because 2000s is really what she really was a 90s star, because she had Simply Irresistible, Scream 2, she had Buffy.
I know you did last summer. Buffy. She through the early 2000s. Yeah,
that's really kind of where it ends.
Oh, Southland Tales was the movie that just kind of, I think.
Oh yeah, she did Southland Tales. Yeah.
I think that's when the career just nosedived, because that was right after The Grudge.
Yeah. And then she did a sequel to The Grudge.
So all that being said, like I honestly really, really loved her. Thought she was fantastic. Like I liked her from the onset. Like it was, like I said, her character introduction is really when I started, like my interest in this movie really ramped up. She was fantastic. Love that she ends up being like, it's interesting that like our two leads in this are essentially the villains. I love though that she ends up being more of a villain than even Sebastian does, and I thought she played it great. She was very believable. Obviously, having not seen Buffy, I still was aware that she's very much the heroine of that story. So I thought, like, in my limited knowledge of her role in that show, seeing her contrast that in this role, I thought was super impressive. Like, she's very hateable. Yeah, you love to hate her, kind of that character. So I thought that approach to her, like her acting, and it was fantastic. That scene where it's after the bed is kind of over and Sebastian goes and visits her. She's in a room and kind of like spoils her and Ronald. And she's like throwing a tantrum and she's like, I want to fuck.
I want to fuck.
I don't. That scene like had me in stitches. She was awesome in that.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I like laughed out loud watching it like by myself because it's like it's so like it's very like snooty, like very entitled, is very on brand for who her character is, and then his retort back being like, well, I don't. Like they actually were really good together. I thought they had really
I agree, their chemistry was fantastic
with each other. Yeah, like and it's interesting because he has great chemistry. I mean, he was of course dating her at the time, Reese Witherspoon, but I love that the chemistry is different. Like he has this really fun, playful, sexual chemistry with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and this really sincere, sweet chemistry with Reese Witherspoon.
Yes, I gotta say both of those pretty well. Their sexual chemistry was off the charts, especially those earlier scenes, and which she's like teasing him, kind of reminding him like what's in store for him if he wins. Like the down boy scene, like oh my god, man! I was like, what am I watching? How is this made? I loved it though. Like, I was so here for it. It was like how I look at like I don't know some like dirty like reality TV like sex show. I don't know. It was kind of
Yeah,
like
it really feel like
yeah, it felt like that. Let me
you
ask
feel
you
like
guys
you
this,
should
though.
be watching it though. Like
Exactly.
You're just like,
Yeah. What do you guys think of Cecile and her character and Selma Blair's performance as Cecile?
I'll let
Funniest
JC
it-
go first.
the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like
What's that?
the funniest person in the whole movie. Like I love that whole character. Like her performance is incredible. Like when she gets home and she has like the frizzy hair, her reaction. That scene, the scene is with Sebastian when she like falls off the bed.
He
And
like
this
literally
whole-
shoves her right off the bed.
Shoves
like,
her
that,
off the bed.
that was one of the funnier moments for me
like
too.
to me also like just all the stuff she tries to do in front of like Catherine, like to like they said she's the youngest one, so she wants to act like an adult, but she still has like that goofy kid thing. And then just after the kiss, it's just like she's like cool, like she was like so like it like every there's very few things that she does in this movie that does not make me laugh. Even some obviously more than others, but I'm either smiling or laughing a lot every time she was on screen.
All right, Gaius.
Yeah, I did. So when I first saw it, I didn't love it. Like back when I was a teenager, I didn't. I thought it was like kind of annoying and stupid.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. But years after watching it, it's it's clear that she it's a very heightened version of what a like naive teenager would be.
Yes.
And on that level, I think it works now. And I think she does have some funny moments like in it, and they're all kind of based in like kind of like innocence a little bit too. Which when Catherine's watching I guess like the monitor in her house, and then she does that like handstand and her legs are spread in front of Ronald, and it's so innocent to her when she does it, but like everyone else is not. And then when she's drinking the drink in the bed, and she's like, "Oh, this sure doesn't taste like an iced tea," and he's like, "It's from Long Island."
From Long Island,
and,
yeah. I got a giggle out of me.
She's. I thought she was funny. I mean, I also love her reaction when after he has like gone down to her and he like sees her the next day and he's like, anyone up for tennis? And he's like stroking the tennis racket and looking at her. And she just spits her food out.
Yeah.
And then and I love like Reese Witherspoon's reaction when she runs away. She's like, she's very strange. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. At least
I think it works.
Yeah.
I think it works.
Like says that, then I was like, at least somebody is on board and is aware of how odd.
Oh, because you're like she's fucking odd.
I exactly like I get what, and like it helped knowing that Selma Blair is so much older than the character she's portraying. She was like what 28 during filming or 27, playing like
around
a 17
there,
or somewhere like even younger. Even younger, yeah. So that like helped that she's like really leaning into the goofy, silly, childish aspects of her character, but like just seeing it for the first time and like just looking at like taking it like a blanket approach, I was like, oh my god, like every time Cecile had something to say, I was borderline cringing. Like her character for me was one of the low points, of like not that it dragged the movie down, just like I couldn't stand like her behavior in the movie as a character, not against the film, but or even the actress playing her like did a good job, but what she was doing was so cringe inducing. I was like, oh, I hate seeing her on screen.
Yeah, I've heard people say that they think that she went too cartoony with it, like it was like a little bit too over the top.
There was a couple moments of that, not throughout, but definitely a few moments where I was like, yeah, it's too much.
But I honestly thought she conveyed being that age, because like I didn't know she was like. It took me years later that I found out that she was that much older than the rest of them when she.
I wouldn't have thought so either if I didn't read it myself.
This podcast, I thought she was like 20 to 22. I never knew.
Yeah, she was much older than, and she comes off. She kind of gives off that. Like
she was 30, but in this movie that it kind of shocks me.
Yeah.
One thing I will say though, that like her character, it does a good job in the story is that like her naivety and like her youthfulness really makes it clear how evil Catherine and Sebastian really are, and the way that they're manipulating her, the way that I think by today's standards we would consider what he does to her rape. Maybe not in 1999.
I was gonna ask you guys if like you thought like it is kind of like it's more coercion, I guess. Like
coercion, I guess, yeah.
But a lot of people view that as like a form.
Put it under the same umbrella of
like umbrella, yeah.
Assault, yeah.
Because he makes her kind of feel. He kind of makes her, because he's like, be super duper respect. Like if you lost all the clothes, and she's like no, and then he basically is like, oh, I'm gonna call your mom, and like he doesn't force her to do it, but he puts her in a situation where she feels like she has to do it.
And he gives her the drink, right, without her knowing that it's alcoholic.
Alcohol,
yeah. There's a lot of no-nos in there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. JC, do you feel the same way about that?
No, yeah, that's what I mentioned. I'm like, like to like in this day and age that would have slide. I'm pretty sure there was some people back then that were kind of like weird about it because it's like he's like I said I mentioned in my review like he knows how to manipulate people like he knows how to work that charm and like I said like she's very naive so she's she's a girl that probably like oh my god this beautiful man that is like paying attention to me like I can't say no to him or else so like there's definitely a way that it could be viewed as he kind of took advantage of her. It's like it's not rape per se, but there is undertones of like taking advantage of her.
Yeah, he definitely coerces her into doing it because when he's like, "Okay, I'll just call your mom," and she's like, "You're gonna call my mom," and he's like, "Oh, he's saying that." I love how he's like childish back to her. He's like, "Oh wow, she doesn't know you're here."
I was laughing at that too.
But yeah, I mean, he basically convinced her based on like, "Oh, you're gonna get in trouble if you don't do this." It does take the kind of fun out of watching the movie, but yeah, I guess that could be viewed as that.
Yeah,
for
just
sure.
Kind of like definitely, even though like yes, Sebastian is our protagonist. We're like, even though what he's doing is like terrible, like we are still rooting for him, right? Like as like a viewer, at least that's how I interpreted it. But like that scene, like just kind of like their involvement with Cecile is like where as the viewer, I was like, okay, these are not good people. Even though he does have a turn at the end, he has something.
And the thing with Catherine, what I kind of respect about it is that she has zero redeemable qualities. They don't even try to redeem her.
That's right.
Like there's no like, oh, it's because of X, Y, and Z. Like she's just pure fucking evil. She does have that whole monologue about like Sebastian, like basically how men can get away with doing what she does. And I think that is a good example of describing who she is. Like, why do you guys get to do all this stuff with zero consequence, and when I do it, she gets done for people like Cecile. I think that in its shortest of terms, like really describes the good way why now she is an evil person, but why she feels like she should be able to do the things she does with zero consequences. Because like she's watched people like Sebastian do it too with zero consequences, but he doesn't have to. But he doesn't have to act nice. Like she has to act nice in public. And Sebastian clearly has a rep and Catherine doesn't. And so like I did like that whole kind of difference between the two where she she's like the demon on the inside, but like but like she has to like put up appearances in order to maintain her reputation. And that makes her really interesting too. Going back to the thing with Cecile and Sebastian, what I was wondering when I was watching it, because when Catherine and Cecile see each other after that, and Cecile says like he took advantage of me. My thought, and I'm not thinking outside of the box, I was like, I wonder if Catherine thinks like, yo, he didn't rape her, did he? Because he or if he would have any concern about like what Sebastian actually did to her.
It didn't seem that way, did it?
No, I think she knows that he probably just knows how to
work his ways. Yeah.
Like, she knows what he's about. Like they're close to an extent. So, and you say he has a reputation, so she probably knows that it was just more like, she probably was being standoffish at first, and he had to work a little harder than he normally would to a girl that would just easily give it to him.
Dude, the smile that Catherine gets when she's whispering in her ear like what he did to her, and she's just kind of like, oh, like, well, that's what he did, and then like she gets like straight again when she's like, oh, yeah, I thought that was great, and I love when she like jumps on her about like, oh, like you had an orgasm, you're becoming a woman, I'm so proud of you, and she jumps on her, and Catherine just like knocks her off, like get off of me, and I kind of feel like I wonder if you kind of had enough for her by the when she mentions the whole like, oh, so it's like a secret society, which is like. Everyone does it, but nobody talks about it.
Yes, and then she does a little jig after Catherine leaves. Like the best parts of Cecile are like how the other people like
react to her.
Like, react to her exactly. Like when she mutters under her breath, like "fucking idiot." Fucking I was like, idiot. Yeah, that's how I feel as a viewer. And then she's like, no one's like clearly the camera's lingering on her, but Catherine is not like seeing her, and she's doing this little jig, like secret society, yeah. I'm like, oh my god, man, like this is too much.
Catherine has another moment where she reacts to her, where Ronald says he's doing like his like performance is inspired by like the work of like Dr. Martin Luther King, and Cecile's like, Dr. King is my favorite, and Catherine just looks at her like, you idiot. Like,
yes. Jesus.
Yeah, you're right. It is a lot of it is based on like how people react to her, and I never really thought of like those people being like the voice of the audience, like you being like, can someone just call her out for being stupid?
Yeah, and I was grateful for the people that did. Like, I feel like both Catherine and Sebastian in the way that they relate to Cecile, like when they're not, exploiting her.
Yeah. All right, there's some big moments we have to talk about. I'm gonna get the kiss thing out of the way because the kiss thing was a huge deal when the movie came out. It was like what the kind of not the marketing, but like once people saw it, it became like the thing. It's almost like in Wild Things where like that threesome scene became like the thing that everyone talked about.
Right.
Like Sarah Michelle and Summer Blair even won like Best Kiss at the MTV Movie Awards afterwards.
Oh wow.
And I love that the little single strand of like spit and Roger Cumble was like, yo, like that wasn't supposed to happen, but we got it. Let's keep it.
He called it beautiful, didn't he?
Yeah.
That makes the scene because it's like, oh, they really got in there.
Apparently they're best friends in real life too, eh?
They are. They became best friends when they made the movie. Yeah. I was wondering what Jackson thought of it because there's one half of the audience that thinks that like this is just really gratuitous and like why is this here? Or did you feel like it needed to be there? Or you're like this is just there for shock value, like whatever.
Can I cheat and say I feel both ways? I feel like the scene being in the movie wasn't gratuitous. Like I think there's a scene that can exist with her teaching the very naive younger counterpart how to kiss because she's so inexperienced. The way it was filmed though is like one of those moments where I was like, hey, this is like clearly the fantasy, like a lesbian pornographic fantasy from Roger Cumble. Is that his name, Roger?
Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah. Like the way it was shot, I was like, okay, this is definitely like they're very much leaning into this. This is probably like a big thing at the time. I didn't really know how scandalous it was perceived at the time because I'm viewing it from a 2024 perspective. But I can imagine for sure. But I think the scene is fine. What's that?
Man, we were like
not another teen movie. That's bad.
Yeah. They make fun of it really well in that.
Yeah, they like I'm damn, I don't want to spoil it, but it's just it happens, but you're gonna be like, remember it's a spoof, so it's kind of disgusting.
I imagine, yeah. And I can just totally picture.
They also imply where it's like Chris Evans and I believe in not of the two movies, his actual sister.
Yeah.
So, he's not with it, but she has like a passion she really wants to. So yeah, those are the two cool intentions and things they do in that movie.
Oh, okay.
I mean, at the time, it was just like, well, Buffy's making out with girls. I mean, that's how we it was
right.
Yeah, you would know better
if you were of a certain age, it was like, oh, this is great. Like I have a few questions from people about that scene, and a lot of people. There were 3 girls. They didn't want me to say their names on here, but they're basically the same basic answer was like they realized that they liked girls after watching that scene.
That was their sexual awakening.
Their sexual awakening was watching that scene.
I gotta admit, I didn't really feel like just an on-screen girl kiss was that big a deal because I think since then, and I've seen a lot of media featuring that since. So I obviously in the perspective of late 90s might not have been as commonplace, but looking at it now, I was like, okay, no big deal. Even though like while watching, it was after the movie ended and I was doing some more digging on IMDb and come to find out that in some countries, that aren't as LGBT friendly, that scene is cut from the movie. I was like, damn, actually, there are implications to that still, a couple decades later, which I thought was quite interesting and helped ground me a little bit to how just pivotal or not pivotal, but
monumental.
Yeah, that scene really was when it came out. It kind of brought me back to that.
Yeah. No, and I will. Go ahead, man.
No, you can go ahead, G.
No, I'm gonna say as an adult, I kind of agree with Jackson now, where I look at that scene both ways, where it makes sense for the plot that she would be teaching her how to do this because she wants to sexualize her and make her a slut, essentially.
Exactly.
So it ruins her for the guy. But like you said, the way it is shot, it is completely and totally gratuitous. And it's the dialogue. I like it starts off pleasant enough with the first kiss. And then the dialogue after that is like, all right, now I'm going to stick my tongue in your mouth. And it's very like, you're
going to massage my tongue with yours. I was like, oh my God, I've seen this somewhere before. Where was it? Wait, it was on a site.
yeah. Like this is basically porn. Yeah. But yeah, so I, as a fully, formed adult, I'm like, yeah, I can see how some people would be like, oh, this is totally like for shock value. But I also think for the sake of the plot, it makes sense.
That's
too.
exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah.
JC, like, no, it makes sense all the way around, dude.
Like,
we need that
I'm
scene.
for it.
I love it to this day. It's just like, because like I said, like it really was a big thing. Because like, just even 5 years before, it was taboo in My So-Called Life when they had a gay teenager. It was just like anything LGBT was like kind of like it used to be very hinted at, but rarely was it shown to that degree. Like it'll be like, oh, there's a character that you could tell that they were queer, but they would never show it. Like, for example, like, even this is going back to the 80s, it's like Ducky and Pretty in Pink.
Yeah.
Like that, like Molly Ringwald, she said it, like Ducky is clearly gay. So it's like, but it was never implied. It was like, oh no, he had this huge crush on Andy. Like it was very taboo. But like you said, like nowadays, like 25 years later, like come on, like the shit we see in Euphoria is just like this is two girls kissing is like, huh?
That's nothing, right?
That's like that. That would be more risque today. But like two girls kissing is just like, oh, that's normal. Like, oh, like very inclusive.
It's very tame by today's standards. Like,
exactly.
It's like very, very tame. I do love finding out that apparently when they shot that scene, there were a ton of extras or just people walking around and just seeing Sarah Michelle Gellar make out with a girl, and they were just like, well, like their minds were blown that Buffy was like, you know, full on like this big girl. So there was a lot of that because they filmed in New York. They filmed in a lot of open spaces that they really didn't care about where they shot. Who was seeing what? So like that was one of the big ones. And you know, Sarah Michelle Gellar, they really wanted her, and I guess her rep told her to turn it down a lot. They thought it would be bad. They thought it would be bad for her career. And,
I think it's a bold decision to be in that, and I think it paid off.
Yeah. And Roger Cumble like convinced her. Like I guess the one that was on board right away as soon as he read it was Ryan Phillippe. He was like, "This is perfect. I really want to do it." And then it took Sarah Michelle Gellar convincing, but not as much as Reese Witherspoon, because like that character, like Catherine on paper, is a well written character. It's not like it's not an issue of like is this character well written? It's like, oh, will this hurt my reputation as I'm on a TV show where I play like heroine like week after week. I mean, I guess it helps that she dyes her hair brown. She's a brunette, and then she doesn't look like Buffy. So like it's a completely different character.
No, so I don't know if Jackson knows movie, but like for Ryan, it was like he was coming off shooting 54. Like this movie is nothing compared to the stuff that he had to do.
Yeah. And 54, man, that is a movie.
I want. What's that?
No, you were gonna say?
Oh yeah. I was gonna just while we were on the topic, I wanted to just bring it up before we get too far off. But one of the ways there weren't very many to the movie's credit. It's still, I think this movie like can be considered timeless. Are you going
to bring up what I think you're going to bring up?
Yeah, probably. One of the few ways that it dates itself is in its treatment of LGBT characters and like homosexuality in general. There's actually, I thought one slur was, probably like pretty
like a lot.
norm. There's quite a few. Yeah, definitely. And the same one. I get, different time, things were more accepted, but definitely, a little cringy looking back at how some of that dialogue is delivered.
Roger Cumble has defended that in like a lot of ways, and
really, that's interesting.
I don't know.
Take.
I don't know if I agree with it per se. I'll see what you guys think. So his reasoning. Yeah. So he basically was saying like people like Catherine and Sebastian. He was writing them as these are people that would say stuff like that.
Okay, so I agree with that. That makes sense.
That's how he wrote it, and then because at the time a lot of people did think the movie was like had a tinge of like homophobia because they do. The F word gets used like more than a couple times. Yeah. Like when he's reading the 17 article, and he's like, Trevor understands that she wants to save her virginity, and like she's like Trevor's
yeah,
and like with the quickness, like I laughed. Of course, I mean it's funny, but you're
for sure in a non malevolent way.
But Roger Cumble also
certain things I understand that. It's like when I tell stuff like, I know that what he's saying is like, it's a little. Sensitive, but it's like you can't just your reaction just can't help but laugh.
Context matters for sure.
Yeah, and then Roger Cumble kind of defended it with Sebastian because he's friends with Blank. At least maybe not friends, but they have an understanding. The Joshua Jackson character, who's also gay, and he said at the time when it came out that like Sebastian wouldn't have a problem with you if you were out openly gay because he doesn't care.
Mm.
But if you were hiding it, he would use that to try to exploit you, and
To
that's the kind of
exploit.
and that's the
the
kind of character
he
he
is. That's actually good
And but
writing.
but also Blaine is not great either because Blaine clearly lies about what he needs to. I mean, he doesn't really lie, but he does what he needs to do to get Sebastian there to kind of get Greg in place. So like he can kind of like keep him aligned in whatever secret relationship that they're having. So Blaine's also bad and has ulterior motives. And
100%.
So I mean, so they but the main defense of it is that these particular characters would speak that way. And I don't know if you guys agree with that or disagree.
No, I
with that.
do. I think like, just because even if that were written today and you write characters that would use that sort of language, I still think there's a place for that. It's not like these words are, so taboo they can never be uttered in the context of the characters. That totally makes sense to me.
And he took some out too, because there's a scene on the Blu-ray that's deleted where it's where Sebastian calls Annette and asks if he like left his glasses there. He's just trying to find a reason to talk to her. Yeah. That scene was longer. There were two cheerleaders in that scene that were like basically topless, like he was like sleeping with, and he has all these books in his room, and they're like asking him why he has like so many books, and like he basically is trying to say that he likes to read, and the two girls say that books are for F words, and then he said he has a reaction like, "Oh, I weep for this generation" or something like that, and
that would have
yeah, they took it out because one, they wanted to soften him and not have him be in the scene with two girls while he's calling her, because they kind of think that's around the time that he's starting to change a little bit for her.
Can we go on? We got to dive into that where you're exploring right there. One thing I gotta admit, and I'd be curious to see if you guys buy into it or if you kind of like let your perceptions of the movie kind of override it, but I do not buy for a moment that he has genuine love for Annette. Not enough time. The movie even confirms, like in the span of the movie only takes place over a few days, maybe a couple weeks at most. I was like, I don't buy that he's all of a sudden completely changed and like loves this girl. So when he actually kind of betrays that, and when Catherine threatens to ruin his reputation, or ruin hers rather, and he kind of goes back and tells the truth to her that she's just a conquest and he doesn't. I bought that. I was like, okay, this is the true Sebastian. But then that gets undone later, and I don't buy that part. That part kind of dug into me a little bit.
I was wondering if you guys thought it happens too fast, or if you believe it happens.
Very much so. I'd be curious what you guys think, though.
So how I feel, and I like how you said, do you let your overriding feelings for the movie like kind of taint what you think?
Because I'm like, I could be guilty of that, of things.
I think I've been guilty of it in the past. It is quick though, and like I'm not. I think that Sebastian's never felt whatever he feels for her, whether that is love, whatever. He has a genuine feeling for her that isn't just that he wants to sleep with her. And
I can buy that.
And I think for the sake of the movie, they use the word love because it's like a stronger impact. But I don't think that he was necessarily not that quick. No, I don't think he was necessarily in love with her. But I do think he cared. I think he cared about her, and I think that like I do believe that she broke down some walls and he didn't know how to deal with whatever feelings he had, because he clearly has never felt that before. But also for the sake of the movie, I'm like, whatever. I mean, he has to say he loves her.
I mean, it's a nitpick for sure, but like, it's just one of those things that's like, okay, come on, like, get real here. It's been a few days. You don't go from this absolute, notorious playboy to being in love with this girl.
And what I like about it too is even if you feel that way, is that after Catherine like throws the glass to the door and he's on the phone with her and he says, "I love you too." I love that Catherine just calls him out, and then she was like, "Oh, I love you too." Like, my God, you're completely pussy with.
I love this.
Like
that line was great.
So, like, what I like about it is that even if you don't buy it, like, she still brings you back down to earth. Like, she's like, "No, this is not who you are." Like,
right?
Nothing's really changed. Like you're trying to change, but no, you're really still like just as bad as you ever were. Kind of. I do love that scene. I think that scene works too because Catherine has used sex to get what she wants from him. And I do love in that scene that it doesn't work that time, where he's just like, and he's kind of like, like, you're being ridiculous, and you can look in her face that like she's like, oh, I've lost him completely, and the only way to like get back at him is to just rip apart his reputation, his personality.
I loved that dynamic between them too. How things change, how the wager doesn't really pay off. Is it wrong to say that I was looking forward to them actually hooking up? Like, I don't know why. I was like, that's what I was expecting to go.
We all were back then.
Okay,
I think we all were.
That makes me happy.
You could have
like a sicko.
To me, they should have had him like in the bed, and then he couldn't do it at least. Because remember, we talked about it so much during the movie. I'm like, you could have had a scene where it's like it's gonna happen, and he realizes like, oh, I really do love Annette, and I'm like, I can't do this. And
well, he has that moment where she like takes where he's gonna sleep with her, and then like she takes off her she's about to take off her top, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't, and he leaves because he can't just have sex
with Annette.
Together.
Oh, with Annette. With Catherine.
He's talking about Catherine. Yeah.
Because he didn't do it. No, but yeah, like
I mean, he wouldn't be redeemed if like he had sex with her and then
not actually done it, but like maybe kissing and then realizing that he can't go through it. Like we've seen a lot of movies back, especially teen movies, where it's like the guy was maybe gonna cheat and he's like, oh, I know I can't do it. I love this person.
Varsity Blues, great example.
Exactly. He kisses thing, but like I mean, for movie logic, I believe it because I've seen a bunch of movies where the characters fall in love in the same night.
Yeah, like, it's just ridiculous.
Some guys, it's from like G was saying, like movie logic is in movies. 2 days is too much if people don't fall in love. Like, it's just. And I feel like we're talking sporting, but like the fact that he pushes her off and basically gets hit by the car, like
dies for her.
I mean, like that. I believe he loves her, but and then it's like, yeah, like if you really look at it, it's like it happened too quick. But I mean, given the amount of movies I've seen where you have characters that fall in love in one night, it's like a few days, and then after having sex with her and seeing that real passion, because I thought they weren't like, I'm pretty sure like the way he has sex with these other supermodels is just really nasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not. He didn't make love with
her. Beautiful, like very passionate. Like
I could have used more of Sebastian like betting other girls to contrast his scene with Annette. That would have, I think, helped me buy it a little bit more.
Well, maybe that cheerleader scene should have stayed in the movie.
That's what I think that actually would have helped because we only hear about his conquest with women. We don't actually really see it for ourselves. So like, yeah, you completely buy it, and his persona gives off that he is that ladies' man.
Yeah,
but we don't really see a lot of evidence for that. And I think that would have went a long way in me buying his feelings for Annette, that she's different somehow, that he has an actual connection with her. Because like, I guess we do see it in Cecile. Like he wants something. We don't even see her do anything.
Yeah. I love what he says. This is what I like to call quiet time.
Yeah, oh my god, man! I was like, dude, that's so savage.
I was reading a bunch of comments for girls though. Like I kind of agree with you. It is kind of it is quick that he falls in love with her. But some of the girls who left comments were like, they said that movie like ruined escalators for them for the rest of their lives, because like they were just like. They were like, we want to see the guy we love like right at the top as soon as we get there. I mean, the movie is really good at making these grand gesture moments that like, oh, you can see why at the time that people were like, oh, this is a great little moment. But I definitely, when I first saw it, I didn't really nitpick that he fell in love with her too quick. I think watching it now, I was like, because I didn't really think about how many days it took. It is a matter of days that the movie.
I never thought about it until Jackson.
Yeah, it's very quick. Yeah.
Yeah. And and he's just constantly saying that he's in love with her. But on the flip side of that, though, when he does go back to Annette after Catherine's basically like twisted him into doing like what she wants again, that scene is their strongest scene. And apparently, like Ryan Phillippe, because they were dating in real life, when he had to tell her that she was just a conquest and he only wanted to sleep with her. Apparently, Ryan Phillippe like threw up afterwards because Roger.
That's right.
I guess Roger Cumbo made him do it like a lot, and he was just like he didn't like berating her that way. And you guys can tell from both of them, they're both really emotional in that scene. That's probably their best scene in the movie.
She robbed that slap on him too.
Oh yeah, she hit him. Yeah, that wasn't
super great acting on both their behalves.
That wasn't in the script at all. And like, yeah, so I think at least you get the feeling that he cares about her, at least in that scene, because he wouldn't be like completely falling apart if he didn't care about her in some way.
You're right. Just I want to touch back on the escalator scene that you brought up. I'm a sucker for like how color is used in movies, and that scene is like one of the only scenes we don't see Sebastian or Annette clad in like black and white, like they're wearing red and blue, which
so they stand out.
Exactly, and like they're also two primary colors when because that's a big pivotal moment for them. But throughout that, while he's trying to like bed her, I guess their colors are constantly contrasted. She's in like this angelic white outfits all the time, and he's in like the dark or black outfits, and it just kind of shows how like he's trying to corrupt her and she's innocent. And then when they do finally have that big like kiss on the escalator, they're kind of more in sync, like what their wardrobes are wearing. I just thought it was a really subtle and slick detail that kind of paints where they're at with each other.
Yeah, I thought that was good too. I'm glad you pointed that out because it also makes, because it is such a big moment for those two characters, and that you really just want to zero in on them in that scene. That makes them stand out more. Yeah, I actually like that a lot. Definitely. The movie is visually really good for
100%.
For a movie that costs that not that much to make. They utilize that budget to the fullest. At least visually, cinematography wise, it still looks good today. Like it doesn't, like there's not a lot about that dates it, other than like the phones and shit like that. But like it's still.
But even then, that seems like a symbol of like higher society to use those antiquated phones, and like they live in an older style. Like I don't know if it's a mansion or a penthouse or what it is, but
they have so much money. Is what I remember watching. I remember as like a kid being like, would I want that life? Like if that life could exist for me as a teenager, would I want that life? Kind of, maybe. It seems fun.
I think we all would.
Be cool to try.
I know. I did want to ask, as like you brought up the the gay stuff in this too. That, and I guess I should address this because I'm the black guy on the show. But there are also a lot of comments and jokes about African Americans in the movie too.
Oh my god.
That also got a lot of flack when the movie came out. But also really funny. Like when Cecile's mom, I got you off the streets.
Oh man!
And he's like, got me off the streets. I live at 59th and Park, and she's like, whatever.
that area ain't cheap. So like that scene cracked me up.
That scene is so funny. And then when she's like, "Don't give me that racist crap. My husband and I give money to Colin Powell."
I fucking died at that scene. I was like, "Oh my god," because she's so clearly out of touch and like racist, but without really knowing it, I was like, "Oh my god."
She has like 3 moments when she's like tells her that about them, and she's like, "I know." Like she's so young and he's so. She's like black. Like it just.
I forgot about that line until you brought it up.
Her line is like equivalent to "I'm not racist because I got black friends." Like I hate
friends. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you say that. Like you probably talk shit like about the blacks.
I'm just glad I know Colin Powell is, that I can appreciate that joke.
So that joke could land. Yeah.
Like
we're laughing at it now, but like
very dated if they use like whatever the guy from Huey and the Blowfish name is. Jackson.
Darius Rucker.
Jackson's head like, huh? Who she's?
But I did want to ask, like, did you think it was appropriately funny, or can you see it being offensive? I'm gonna say I don't think it is. I think I thought it was funny, but I think it was interesting it did catch some flack for they thought like kind of making jokes at a black character's expense, and in a way that was very much like high society, you're lower than me kind of.
But I feel like that's something that actually I have no idea. I'm so removed from that region of society. That felt real. Like that there are people like that don't realize what they're saying or doing or their beliefs are racist. Like that didn't seem like completely out of nowhere. So like, is it offensive? Yeah, but like that is also a reflection of people's genuine attitudes. So I'm like that. Fit. I thought it was funny in a certain way, not funny for Ronald, but for us as a viewer to see how out of touch this woman is. I got a laugh out of it.
Yeah, I read something online where they said the problem is they feel like Ronald doesn't really drive plot forward; that he's just there as like a plot device rather than something that moves the story forward.
So he's there for the butt of the joke a couple times. I think this is going to be made for that too.
But yeah. I guess as the resident African American, I will say that I thought it was.
I'm glad you weighed in on that.
You understand that was like a common trope back then. It's like the token black.
It was,
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like another. Sorry, I'm. It's crazy. I didn't think I was gonna bring up not another teen movie so much, but. But he comes out in that movie too. Another teen movie has one black character. And then they both appear in the party, and the joke is like, "Hey, like, yo, there can only be one of us in this party. You got to leave."
No way! Oh my god!
One token black guy in these type of teen movies, and that's some
good meta comedy though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They do make him the angry black man because he is responsible for Sebastian getting
Okay,
for
yes.
Sebastian
I mean,
getting-
his actions were kind of justified though, because he got tricked into thinking that Cecile got taken advantage of. I mean,
So
she was, but like the way they were implied to him.
I will say this, his anger, and they deleted the scene. So you know the scene where Sebastian goes back to Catherine's and she's like, "Oh, I'm expecting company," and like he basically like, "I know it was Ronald." He basically convinced Ronald not to go see her and all that. And she says like she lays into him and says like, "You're in love with her." Like it amused me to make you ashamed of it. I guess at the end of that scene, he hits her and they deleted it, but he slaps her. And it gets really, I guess, violent, but they took it out because they thought Sebastian at that point, they didn't want to mess up his redemption by having him smack her.
Definitely would have. It's a smart play.
But another scene that they deleted was having Catherine tell Ronald, in addition to what he did to Cecile, was that he hit her too.
That was in the version I watched.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
She tells Ronald.
Right.
We just never see it, but it's like because it's like one, you could believe it, and it's because it works also because you could Catherine, like you said, they did shoot the scene, but it works because Catherine would lie about something like that to get,
which I like that.
Right.
You think, she's a scheming.
Lie
about that.
Sorry, I meant to say in the deleted scene that he comes over to her house and sees her. And she lays it on pretty thick that he like beat her up, and that it's like a thing that happens often.
I think the phone call is enough. I think
the phone call is great because she sounds so convincing, and when she hangs up the phone, she just kind of relishes in the fact that she just destroyed lives, and gives zero fucks about doing it.
That kind of gets Sebastian. Okay, spoiler. I know this movie's 25 years old, but if you didn't know at this point, from that action,
listening by this point, they already seen the movie.
They already seen the movie. Yeah.
Fair enough. So, Catherine, then, like those actions, that's a domino effect that gets Sebastian killed.
Yeah.
Which
she gives zero fucks, and that's what and that's what you see about, like, why I said that there's no redeemable qualities. I don't think she cares that Sebastian's dead. Nope. Like she's kind of like, eh. And I think she kind of, when she describes him as like a little toy that she liked to play with, that's what their relationship was.
Scene. Yeah,
that is what their relationship was, and that's all that meant to her. I did want to ask you guys though, do you think it was right that they took out the scene where he did slap her and they just had him just leave instead, or like do you think that would have messed up his redemption at all? Because he actually pip slapped her in the deleted scene. It's pretty like it's like a full backhand. Yeah.
So is it? I'm gonna have to look the scene on. I read it, but I've never seen it. But I'm not, like I'm saying, like it works good because it's like, I mean, granted, when you know this thing, you know that he actually did hit her. But if you don't know this stuff, it works good in the movie because it's like it makes you question, like, did he do it, or is this just another one of Catherine's lies to get what he wants
without seeing it? It's like, did she lie about it? Did he just lie and said that he hit her? Like, and if you keep it in the movie, of course, you saw that he did it. But I honestly don't think it would have ruined him that much. I mean, I'm not saying you should ever hit a woman, but she at that point had like, ruined him completely and was like, putting her foot in the dirt and like making sure that he felt how awful he could possibly feel in that moment.
I agree that like showing the scene where he hits her would have definitely cemented like the end of their relationship and that there's no going back for them. However, I think it also was too much of a risk at ruining his redemption, and we already think we have enough to see between the two of them that it's over between Catherine and Sebastian. So I think it's a smart play deleting that scene because it's still what that scene accomplishes is still in there without it, and there's no risk to us, not rooting for him anymore as like him redeeming himself. So I think it, would have been okay. I mean, wouldn't have toppled the movie by it being there, but I think it's better without.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you would have saw it, like I think most people would have been like, well, that's how most people would have reacted.
Yeah,
but I think it does. I think it does serve him better not to see him smack her,
definitely.
no matter how,
and it just
no matter how much she might think
has that hit.
She deserves it.
There's that hidden benefit too of like her being even more conniving by lying, even though the scene was shot in the final version, it's not there. So that means that she's making it up. That is like an added little jab at her character that she would stoop to that level.
And man, she does toy with him. I forgot that moment where she comes. It was after he tries to sleep with Annette the first time, and he leaves. And then like and he's trying to explain to her like why he couldn't do it, and then the look that she gives him, and she's like, "You had a chance to like fuck her and you didn't," and she's like, "Oh, you're a chump," and like it's just how she like constantly berates him is just I don't know, great. What did you think about how Sebastian tells Annette about all the stuff that was going on? Like he leaves a journal with her. That's how she kind of finds out what's been going on. Did you think that was well handled? Because I'm wondering because I was trying to remember your burger analogy from earlier. What was it about? What was it about the movie that was? What was it?
So
you said, like,
where I start or stop, I guess, like really eating it up, like where it starts to end for me is still at that part. I think that scene's handled great. I think like his emotion and like performance in the scene where he's telling Annette really the whole scheme is great. Not a good approach that if you really want to have some sort of hope of being with her, definitely a bad approach, but acted well. To me, where it starts to fall apart is near when he dies. Like I really did not buy that he gets hit by the cab. I like, that he sacrifices himself to push Annette out of the way of the car. I just didn't think like that's where that would go. That kind of felt a little. I think there could have been either a more dramatic way, and like I just didn't buy that like him getting hit by the cab like killed him. So I don't know. That's and then after that, the funeral scene and the journal being published and Reese Witherspoon driving off into the sunset.
So you didn't like the whole journal being published in the school?
I thought the on paper that's a good decision. Like Catherine has to come down somehow. I didn't like how it played out, I guess, at the funeral, and everyone has a copy and they all happen to look up at her. It just felt too like TV movie quality to me, I guess.
It's like basically the burn book before the burn book in Mean Girls.
That's a good analogy. It is kind of like that. Yeah.
Man, Jackson, people ride or die for that Cruel Intentions ending, just so you know.
Is that right?
Yeah. I think it has a lot to do. It has a lot to do to it's the Bittersweet Symphony being used, the song they use at the end.
It's great. It's very fitting.
And apparently that was $1 million of the budget to get that song.
Oh my god! Wow.
And it's so incredibly linked with that movie now. Like a lot of people,
I didn't realize
that.
Okay.
A lot of people when they hear that song, they're like they go like even if, like I have a friend at work that doesn't love the movie the way that like some of us do, and that song will come on at work, and I just every time I hear that song, I just think of Cruel Intentions, and like it's just like that is like it's so universally attached to that.
Okay,
now.
I think
the song goes well with the moment, and I think I like that, and I think there's no other proper comeuppance. Like, I don't know how else you get back at her other than
I agree with that. That move is great. I think it's just like kind of how it played out is what I wasn't very on board. At least it didn't hold up. It's not that I didn't like it. It's that it didn't hold up.
Like that.
I think maybe just how quick and how like forced it really seems. It really felt like I was watching a play instead of a movie at that point. Like just too like juvenile, I guess. I don't know, from a filmmaking standpoint. I don't know. It just felt too forced. Like everyone's out there with a book. Like the fact that like everyone's like coming in and whispering at the funeral and they all shuffle out. I just didn't feel like that was realistic. Where most of the movie was.
In a school like that, trust me. I mean, me and
school had been in session at that point, though, right? Like that's Sebastian's funeral.
Yeah, in a privileged school like that, trust me. Like, one thing happens in the next 30 minutes, the whole school knows.
Yeah, but I don't know. I still didn't buy how.
I guess we have to assume that Annette made a bunch of copies and like passed them out. And it was like, wait till this exact moment right now, and then you guys can do whatever. I do love the way that
exposure. Yeah,
I do love the way that Cecile gives her copy though, when she like just walks up to her and like just slams into her. And
here's
like,
what everyone's reading, by the way.
Yeah. And I also love that Catherine and Annette only have one scene together, and it's that one scene in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I do. And I love it short and sweet, and it plays really well. And I love how she makes that reference about the whole Jesus comment that only Sebastian would know. And then the way that Catherine looks at her, like, how would you know that? Like, whatever. And then
which scene? What'd she say that only Sebastian would know?
So
it's like she has that crucifix that has the cocaine in it.
Yeah.
She's like, whenever she feels temptation, she turns to God or turns to Jesus and turns to God and he helps me through it. And then Annette changed it to whenever I'm going through something, I turn to Jesus, and he helps me through it. And that's how Catherine kind of knew, like, well, either he said something to her,
I didn't
but I don't
pick
think
up
she
on
really.
that.
But yeah, like I think I love that they have a scene, and it's only that one. They've caused she's caused all these problems for Annette, and it's like the only interaction that they have with each other is at the end of the movie.
It was very effective.
I love it. It's like she comes out of the stall. It's like you see the.
Oh yeah, and the music was like
yeah, like as soon as that song is just perfectly used, because like as soon as things are starting to go wrong, you see the instruments playing. Like you don't even need to hear the words. Like at least for me, I hear those just first couple strings, I already get the goosebumps. Like yeah,
I have never not heard that song and not thought of Cruel Intentions.
Same here.
Like every time I hear Bittersweet Symphony, I'm like, yeah, Cruel Intentions.
I can't believe now. I didn't realize.
And I can't believe their $10 million budget, $1 million of it went to get the rights to play that song.
Foolish. Well,
but I guess I guess like it's an iconic moment. Yeah, it pays off in the end. Yeah. I did want to ask you guys real quick, because when I first saw the trailer back a long time ago, the trailer plays things a little bit. It seems a bit more serious than some of the kind of like black comedy that we get in the movie. The movie is a little funnier than the trailer lets on, and I was wondering if you guys thought like the black comedy here actually worked, or would you have preferred a movie that was more straight and more of like a drama rather than a blurring of the two genres?
Merc, I'll let you tackle this one first.
I mean, when it comes to the drama, I feel like Danger Liaison has like the prestige. So I like the fact that it's like, cause it makes an alternative, because it was just, if it was too serious, it would be like, okay, just so pretty much the only thing they try to do is just update it to like modern time New York. I remember, like I said, I called it a horny, trashy movie. Like, that's also like, if it was serious, it wouldn't feel like, if it was too serious, it probably wouldn't have his iconic status. What makes the movie so iconic is a lot of the trashy, funnier moments. Like I said, I love Cecile, so it's like a lot of, if she was just naive and not even a funny version of that character would have been whatever. Like the beginning was when you hear Tyree crying, and then the mom like, Sebastian, like she played it very comedic. Like
so she's in Dangerous Liaisons too. Susie Kirk, she has a role in Dangerous
Liaisons. Is that who that was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a character that was in both.
I want to rewatch it probably now, just to see, especially now that you mentioned that she's in it, to see what role exactly it is. But no, but yeah, I like the tone, and it's like it like I mentioned in my reviews, like it really captures that MTV, like when we were talking about Varsity Blues, it captures that MTV style of like movie making, where it's like, let's take this style of movie and let's give it the MTV late 90s
treatment,
popularity stuff.
Yeah,
hot teen actors.
Yeah, I like the black comedy. I think it worked. Some of it grounds it in late 90s, but for the most part, I think it's lends it to be the timeless cult classic that it is. I think I had definitely a better approach than just going straight. It's a great point you made, JC, that if they had made it too dramatic, it just would have felt like it wasn't doing anything different than the other adaptation, like Dangerous Liaisons. So I think it was good to add a little bit of more straightforward humor in it.
Yeah, I actually like the blend too. Because I remember expecting more of a drama when I first saw it based on the trailer, but I actually like that. I actually like that it was a lot funnier, and the music is even funny in that same way too. Like the initial score, like once Catherine and Sebastian start like interacting, I feel like the score is kind of like a character in and of itself. Whenever they're in scenes together, it's almost like kind of this kind of like really sophisticated play between these two. Like all their scenes in the movie, I think worked the best. Like they really like
they were the bread and butter of that movie. I agree.
Like flawless together. Yeah.
They were awesome.
I respect the comedy a lot. I thought it was interesting that on G Reels and on Back to Blockbuster when I asked which was a better adaptation of this book, and I said Dangerous Liaisons or Cruel Intentions. Cruel Intentions is 81%, Dangerous Liaisons 19%. And it's pretty much the same on Back to the Blockbuster. I think they're just people of a particular age that
I would imagine that a lot of people just haven't seen the earlier adaptation, if I were to guess.
I mean, if we're talking about...
actually, Mark, you say you like Cruel Intentions more than
Oh yeah, I probably say it because like Dangerous Liaison's better made, better acted. Of course, it's a prestige Oscar movie. Won the Oscar for freaking for adapted screenplay. But what I think is more entertaining. It's Cruel Intentions. Is like really wrong. A lot. Dangerous Liaison is like a comedy of manners and swords. Like it has comedic moments. John Malkovich is when you watch it, you're gonna like it. It's not. I'm not trying to. We're not. I mean, I don't know how G feel, but I'm not trying to diss it when I say that I like Cruel Intentions more. It's just like it's like if you think about like a rewatchable movie. Like a perfect example is Raging Bull. I think is a top 3 Scorsese movie, but I would rather watch After Hours. I would rather watch.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like, you could think a movie's better made, but like, which one is more entertaining to you? Which one do you go visit more? So I like Cruel Intentions more because, like I said, this is the trashiness as where Dangerous Liaisons like is it's very sophisticated. It's definitely the better made movie, better acted, but it just is a movie. You're never gonna be like, oh, I feel like watching Dangerous Liaisons today.
I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like I want to see some girl on girl saliva, some freaking you're gonna have when you never had. So, like I said, like it's an entertaining movie. So that's what I mean when I say I like it more.
On that note, I want to get into ratings and what you guys think, and I'll go last this time.
Oh,
I never want you. Well, I guess I'll still go last, but I just don't want. I think you guys will be pleasant, like surprised. Like, please.
I know. I can't tell if I'm basing this off pure. I actually enjoyed the movie a lot. I had so much fun rewatching it again.
Then that's all that counts, right? That's awesome. Yeah. I think I'll really enjoy my rewatch of this whenever that is.
I'd be curious to know it. Like, have your friends seen this movie?
Cam hadn't, and I definitely don't. I don't think I would have anybody other friends that would have seen it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right, JC, you can go first.
As a movie, I go.
Oh yeah, you reviewed it.
In terms of entertainment value, give me an 8 out of 10 on that.
All right.
We're thinking pure letterbox. I'm gonna 4 out of 5. It is. I
nice.
think it's purely. I think it's highly entertaining. And
no worries, G. You're telling me like I'm 3 out of 5 on Mario. The 92.
And I think that I think it holds up really well.
Yeah,
and I agree. And I agree with Burke that I don't think it's just a guilty pleasure. There's stuff in it that there's some good writing in it and some good like just filmmaking stuff in it. Totally. I think just because it is a product of even though it's so different from teen movies that came out during that time, it is still a product of that conveyor belt of them
for sure.
It has that attached to it.
You just add a cell phones and this movie works perfectly fine. That's like the only thing that, because like Justin said, it's timeless. Because it's like the only thing that would be different, I think, if they made it now, would be one, they wouldn't make
social media be a huge part of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like the whole ending, it would just been a tweet sent to the whole school, and that's it.
That's right.
Yeah, it would have been. They're like, who journals now?
No burn book, just straight up a tweet. Tag the whole school, and that's it. Boom, like Gossip Girl style. And then it's like the cell phone, social media is the only thing that would have changed. And you could make this movie exactly the same, but just add.
You can also admit that too. Like you don't have to. If I were making a contemporary movie, like with this age group, like I would purposely go out of my way not to include the like the social media, the phones being as relevant as they are.
And it would have seemed so realistic, like. Because it's like I don't know if you've seen the Mean Girls, the musical stuff.
No,
they incorporate like pretty much that was the only thing that was different from 2004 and this. It's just social media was such a big thing,
right?
That was the big difference in both versions.
Yeah.
All right, Jackson.
What's your score, Jackson?
I'm in line with both of you guys. I enjoyed this. I will be revisiting it. I'm with you though, JC. 3.5. I think it has more entertainment value than that. But that's my overall rating for sure. Yeah,
we finally got a experience. Yeah, G. Like,
man, if this was gonna be a 2, I was gonna fire you, dude.
Yeah, I don't know, JC. There haven't been too many we've covered that I was really on board with. But this is a first.
2.5. I saw that in your letterbox. I'm like, God damn it.
He liked The Faculty. That was one recent
one. Oh yeah, was that one we did together? Yeah.
So he liked the trashy ones. The trashy.
Yeah. Trashier the better for Jackson.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's entertaining, and I it's funny. I asked several people what their favorite thing is about it. Film Jar, Jay Zuki, David Park, Jordan, and another person named Jack Carroll just wrote everything. They didn't get specific. And then David got more specific and said The Kiss, Joshua Jackson, all of Sarah Michelle Gellar. And another person I want to pull up said that I started saying I don't fuck losers at bars whenever guys come up to me that I don't want to talk to because of this movie.
That's awesome.
That was my intro that I used in my review too. I love that.
That is a great line. And then a lot of people said it was like their freaking sexual awakening. Apparently, a lot of it's just I can't say it was mine. I mean, it was.
Mine was Desperado. I'm a high.
Oh yeah, okay, fair. That's valid.
I mean, Wild Things came out a year before this, and that is riskier, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
More risque. But I guess again, two movies where it feels like you're not watching teenagers do it. They're not teenagers. It doesn't feel like it at all.
Especially Wild Things. That's a whole murder mystery plot.
I know. But yeah, this movie has a 54% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it had mixed reviews at the time. Roger Ebert liked it though.
Nice.
That was surprising.
He praised it. He gave it 3 out of 4 stars, and he said it was a smart. He called it smart and merciless in the tradition of the original story. Most people thought it was tawdry and gross, though, and inappropriate for the target audience. But I guess I can ask you both as we wrap things up. Why do you think it has sustained and kind of kept up with people 25 years later? Why has it continued to influence projects since then? Because like we said, it's in Gossip Girl. I mean, I don't fully understand the Saltburn comparison. I guess in like the whole rich people aesthetic thing.
Yeah, like bringing a middle class person into this world of
rich. That and I can't remember Barry Keoghan's character Ollie. I think the fact that he's such a seductive person by nature too, very much inspired by Sebastian, I think, in Saltburn. That's where my mind went as soon as Emerald Fennell claimed this as an inspiration. Both of those things, definitely. Yeah. I think what makes this movie last is like, and I'm sure there's other examples too that aren't coming to mind, but this to me, at least for this time period, feels like one of the first like big, like the movies that really treated characters of this age as adults in the way that they really truly are, not just giving them responsibility or dramatic things, but like in terms of like purely just sex. Like I can't think of any other examples of the teen movie formula that really went all in on that, like Cruel Intentions did. I feel like that is kind of what lends to its longevity for sure, and like just how adult and mature it really is. I think there was this time period too, a lot of movies laden by the PG rating. So to go, I guess, IMDb saying this is 14A, but was this an R rating?
R rating in the area,
never the wrong way to go. I think it's
crazy sex scenes in it. The language is really what
exactly, and the subject matter and whatnot. Exactly. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. What about you, Merc?
No, you kind of nailed it with like. Besides the few times they mentioned schools, like I said, like G was mentioning a lot during the pod, is like you could say these kids were like college juniors or something, and it's believable. I also feel like I said, it's not treated like it's a teen movie, but it wasn't like
it's not treated like that.
Serious teen movies from the period, like Election. It was treated like how like it was well made. It wasn't well intentioned. It wasn't trying to like basically like just target teens. It was meant to target like you could watch it as an adult and still find enjoyment, as by Roger Ebert. And I also feel just the fact that some of the actors have gone on to be big, like Reese Witherspoon went on to become Oscar-winning actress. Kristen Baranski was on the Good Find, The Good Wife. Yeah, hey, you have a lot of the actors, like even Sarah Michelle Gellar, like let's say with the Scooby-Doo franchise and all this other stuff. So I feel like the cast being still very, I mean, that's something you had some of Blair.
Relevant. They're so relevant today.
Yeah, she was on Dancing with the Stars. Like I feel like because it's like the same thing with example being Dazed and Confused. A lot of the appeal for that movie is the fact that a lot of the actors went on to become big names, and Roger called all of them at the perfect time. Like she said, Buffy was during the middle of season 2 and 3, which is the most acclaimed season. I think that's when they were still in UPN, right? Or no, there was WB. They switched to UPN later, right?
Yeah, later, yeah.
It was like, and then you had Ryan Phillippe. So it was like he was coming basically off I Know What You Did Last Summer, and he was a heartthrob. I personally don't think this is the only movie of his performance I actually like. I don't think he's a good actor at all.
I think he's good in Igby Goes Down, but it's a similar part. Like he's a stuck up kind of like elitist person. Yeah, he's really touch and go for me too. Like I think he's all right in Crash, but I love Crash. I know that's gonna be.
You're talking about Crash. I love Crash, but I just don't think the role is just like, especially when. I mean, if you ever
all that stuff, yeah.
We'll be on
we will. I'm gonna do it just to piss everyone off because I know everyone hates Crash.
Lawyer, I hated his character. So I love when he got his comeuppance in that movie too. Yeah. But like it caught the actors at the perfect time when they were still famous. They were kind of, like I said, Sarah obviously was huge because Buffy, but it came at a perfect time where they were known for certain things, but they weren't super mega stars. And then the fact that pretty much all the main players have had a lot of success since it. Like, it's like, let's say if you're a Legally Blonde fan, like, oh, cool. Selma and Reese did a movie before Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
So, it's a lot of things that play into why this movie, and then, like I said, the Bittersweet Symphony ending is just perfect because it's like, if the movie ended with just Sebastian dying and Catherine just got nothing for all the bad she did, it wouldn't have been such a great thing. So the fact that the ending is as great as, not to Jackson, but for a lot of people, they love the ending. So like to me, I always said like a movie could be whatever in the middle, but if you have a good to great ending, it leaves a better impact because that's the last thing you're gonna remember about the movie.
Yeah.
When you finish it.
Yeah, I do love what movies mean to certain people though, because when I was going through social media trying to like look at what people were saying about its 25th anniversary, there were a lot of people that were like, they think this is like the best ending ever for a movie, right? And I'm reading this as someone that loves movies, and I'm like, I mean, I love this movie, but I'm like, nah, it's not the best ending ever. I mean, it works for the film, of course,
for sure,
but but it's not gonna crack my top 15, 20 movie endings. I don't know, but then like they're so sincere. I mean, based on like when they saw it and like what the movie means to them, like that's why I think these anniversary episodes are fun, because like everyone gets this kind of like nostalgic feeling of like, yeah, I remember seeing this for the first time, what it meant to me, how like a lot of people think the movie is still like iconic in its own way, and that's what I guess I love about this films in general. Like you can have someone that loves Cruel Intentions, like will ride or die harder for it than like Goodfellas, and they're like, you know what, I respect that, because
100%.
As long as if you do, then cool. I will say that I don't think this movie would hit as well if they were 20 somethings. Like, even you have to know that they're kind of teenagers, right? That is part of the, I guess, the tawdriness of it.
I suppose you're right. Yeah.
Like, and have you seen Kids, Jackson?
What's that?
Kids.
What about
Kids?
The movie Kids from '95
was a lot.
Oh, no, I have not seen
like
it.
That movie hits a lot harder because, like G said, like those movies, they're like literally like 14, 15 doing a lot of the shit they do.
Oh, geez.
That's why that movie hits.
And way more graphic.
Yeah, it's like it hits more graphic stuff because like shit, it's like you got like 14, 15-year-old kids doing this. So I mean, I do like the movie, but like we said, like that's why like a lot of those late 90s teen movies that they had these 20-year-olds playing, it's like it's okay, like you can suspend your disbelief. Like, oh, the director's not asking a 14-year-old to do none of this.
Yeah. I just saw a moment that I guess they deleted. I wanted to bring it up. I want to bring up one more thing, but I guess when Catherine called Sebastian and to ask him if he fucked Annette yet when they're by like the pool or whatever, you know how she's getting her feet done from her little Asian like maid or whatever. I guess the scene was supposed to go longer after she hung up, and she was supposed to kick water in her face like to demeanor because like she was like messing up, and I was like just to make her more, I guess, like, you know.
That would have been too far, I think.
Yeah.
It would have fit perfect with the character.
Or completely on brand, I guess.
On brand, yeah.
So this they have tried to make this a TV show 3 times, and they're finally gonna so Cruel Intentions 2 was originally a Fox pilot called Manchester Prep, and then they condensed that into what the movie was, a straight to video movie. And then they did a third straight to video film as well. And then they tried to bring it onto NBC, and they were going to bring back Sarah Michelle Gellar. The pilot tested well, but they didn't pick it up. You can actually find the pilot on YouTube, though. They actually have the whole 45-minute NBC pilot on YouTube.
I don't.
And
it works so good as one movie.
That was available.
Yeah, but the Prime series, I'm going to just read the plot and see what you think, and see if you think that it will work.
This one's coming out, right?
Yeah, this one's going to be on Amazon Prime. They said the series is set to take place at an elite Washington, D.C. college where two ruthless step-siblings will do anything to stay on top of the cutthroat social hierarchy. Per the official description, after a brutal hazing incident threatens the entire system at their school, they'll do whatever is necessary to preserve their power and reputation, even if that means seducing the daughter of the vice president of the United States.
Whoa, okay.
I mean, what I gotta say about this is it might not be great, but me and G will probably definitely be.
We know how it is, fellas.
Me and G will probably be like, "This ain't good, but we like it."
That sounds okay. I think the ambitions to go like executive level of the government is a little big for its britches, but I think a retelling of this in a contemporary university setting, I am on board with that. So yeah, I'd give it a shot, but I'll probably let you guys be my guinea pigs.
I know you are. You definitely are.
Yeah.
I mean, I love trashy TV, so I fully.
I'll be watching House of the Dragon.
I fully embrace it. All right. I guess that unless you guys have anything else you want to bring up, I guess that wraps.
Have you ever seen Quintessential Suji?
Yeah, I've seen it. Amy Adams is in it.
That's the one she's in.
Yeah, Amy Adams is Catherine in it, so that's interesting. Very early Amy Adams. And Sean Patrick Thomas was on it, the black guy who played Ronald. He's going to be on the new show too. Apparently.
Neat. Okay. He has a role in the Boys spinoff Gen V. He plays Polarity, which I knew I recognized him from something.
Not Save the Last Dance.
He's also said Save the Last Dance, man.
No.
He's like, no. Don't worry. That anniversary is not coming up anytime soon. You're good, dude.
2 years before
you're all good.
Sweet.
Before we wrap up here, I was trying to look at right now on Black to the Blockbuster because we were asking our listeners to vote for what they wanted one of our March.
Yes, how's that going?
Wants to be. Right now, Dawn of the Dead is winning 53%.
Really? Wow.
It's closer on G Reels. I just put it up there just to see what it'll be like. But if it is like miles ahead on Back to the Blockbuster, that's the one we're going to choose.
Okay.
But if it was close between the two pages, I would have like a face off. But yeah, right now it is.
That's a good idea.
Dawn of the Dead. I really thought it was going to be The Matrix. But yeah, right now Dawn of the Dead.
I mean, when I voted, it was.
Yeah, it was. They were pretty neck and neck. It was winning yesterday. The Matrix was when I looked, and now Dawn of the Dead.
Interesting.
It was the Joe Rogan podcast. Everybody's like, "Oh, Snyder."
Yeah.
No, true that.
True.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I gotta figure out how to do Eternal Sunshine. I might deep dive it. I feel like
that's definitely a good one to deep dive.
I feel like it's an important one to do, but I thought I would get a few more votes. It has not really gotten a lot, and I guess no one gives a fuck about Captain America. It's probably too early.
You put it against some very popular movies, like
true. That's a good lineup. I thought it was diverse though.
It's too depressing.
It was a good lineup. It was hard for Jackson and I to like really.
What was the fourth one?
So it was Dawn of the Dead and Captain Winter Soldier. It turns 10. So
yeah.
I'm gonna do that one. That's my favorite single solo Avenger movie. This was Infinity and Endgame 1 and 2, but then Winter Soldier is my number 3. I love that movie.
Yeah. That movie's sick.
Oh, we do know for sure we're giving you 10 things I hate about you and Heather's, which I guess makes the month of March as teen movie anniversary month.
I guess so. Yeah.
What? Heather's is March 31st, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I got fucking mad reviews to write that. I got Heather's 10 Things I Hate About You in the Matrix.
In the Matrix,
nice.
So
it's like freaking on the 11th. Like I got to write a review for four weddings and a funeral, Hustler Proxy, and the Ref. Like I don't even know why I do this to myself. Like,
it's quite the lineup.
I have like 3 movies. It's like, do I really need to do these? But it's like I just love putting people on. And it's like, fuck nah, I'm gonna do all 3 movies. Fuck it. But it's just, I just like I said, like because you guys do just one podcast. I'm here like, do I really need to write? Because remember, I do the test slides, the reviews.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm like Hudsucker Prox. I think is like the most underrated Coen Brothers movie, so I want to do that one. And then Four Weddings is just such a phenomenon. Like it's like literally what kickstarted a Hugh Grant rom-com era.
Oh, I do have to ask, just based on what you know from watching the movie, it doesn't have to be about like who's the nicest, blah 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 blah. If you had to choose between Catherine and Annette,
in what way?
who would you choose? And like to be with.
I'm Catherine all the way.
It was a one night stand, Catherine.
Catherine all the way. Sorry, Annette.
Yeah, no, yeah.
If it's relationship Annette, because I feel like it might be long lasting. As where Sarah Michelle Gellar, I might come home one day, she'll be with somebody else.
Probably.
But
yeah,
Catherine
all the way here too.
Catherine all the way.
Catherine for sure.
Yeah, nice. That's a great question to end it on.
Not saying that there's nothing wrong with nice girls. We love nice girls.
100%.
But for the sake of this, sake of this cinematic excellence, we pick Catherine.
2-1.
All right, Jackson, wrap us on up.
All right, I think, without further ado, that wraps up episode 156 of Back to the Blockbuster. Thank you guys, all of you guys that chose to come on this wild ride with us. Of course, JC, Merc with the Movies, thank you so much for being on the show again. Love to have you. If you guys have not seen Cruel Intentions, don't watch it with your parents. I think that's the last word of advice I would have. But if you guys are a fan of the episode,
Prime in the United States for anybody that's
perfect.
I don't know where you saw it in Canada, but in the US it's on Prime for anybody that wants to.
I dropped boxed it to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay.
Good info. You guys can find it on Amazon Prime. And if you like this episode, you can catch all of our episodes anywhere you guys get your podcasts. Check us out on playlists as well, and soon to be on YouTube. Go, guys. Check out Merc with the Movies on Instagram. Big fan of his channel over there and all the hard work he puts in for movie lovers. Thanks again, JC, for joining us. Gaius, always a pleasure. This has been episode 156, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks again, guys.
Peace.